You know, I've changed my name so damn many times. Janet Ament is my father's name through the years, so I took my grandmother's name, DeLaRoche. I liked her a lot. That was my father's mother. So, and I had 3 brothers, quite an education. Makes it kind of tough. I'm very glad I have a callus on me now, not vulnerable anymore, you know, things like that. Well, the thing is, even when I was in kindergarten, you know, I'd draw something and the teacher would put it on the wall. It was that kind of stuff. You know, so it kind of, I started developing confidence, you know, when I was pretty young, just in that respect, but not in mathematics or anything really important, you know. And so I just got so I like to draw, and whenever I do something, as you know, each class I was in, each year, you know, I'd always be the same story. They'd always be putting my stuff up, you know. My grandmother on my mother's side was an artist, so I guess I took after her. I was too young to even get to know her, unfortunately, but she was a painter. And then my other grandmother was a dancer, so I wind up liking both. And well, you know, my oldest brother always said, Janet shouldn't be painting, she's not good enough. So I got a callus on my hide very young, you know. So I don't even give a damn what people say. I had so much of that kind of thing with my brothers. You know, people say, oh, I bet you were spoiled and all that baloney.
Did you go to art school or anything, or is it all on your own?
My mother had a friend that knew this Danish painter in Pasadena. So my mother wanted me to get an art education, so I took private lessons with him for a long time. He's quite a well-known American painter, and so I learned a lot from him. And then I started going to all the schools in Los Angeles. I went to Otis and Art Center, Jepson Art Institute, and I went to a lot of art schools. And I studied with a lot of different people. That's how I met my husband at Jepson's Art Institute after the Second World War. And we had so much in common, both crazy, you know. He was a lot like my oldest brother, so, you know, I was used to living with that kind of a pest. So I don't know, we just started going together, that's all. And I never really wanted to get married or anything, you know, I didn't pay much attention to men. I had too many brothers. And so anyway, I don't know, I just started going with Victor, and we just wound up gradually living together and getting married, you know. Victor Digestu? Yeah. He's Sicilian, that's a Sicilian name. But, and I found out what good cooks are, Italians are. Gee, they're really good cooks, you know. And so he did a lot of the cooking. I baked some and stuff like that, but he was so good at cooking, I just let him do it. Well, you know, we were attacked at Pearl Harbor, and that was near Southern California. And so we used to have lights out and people on the streets to watch for, we thought we were going to get bombed. We almost did a few times. And all my brothers were going off to the war. And so, I don't know, everything was that way, so I tried. They didn't let me in the Army for some reason, but I tried the Marine Corps, and they let me in the Marine Corps. So then we went to North Carolina, and some of those bases there, Cherry Point and Camp Lejeune, and oh, it was so humid and hot in North Carolina, you know, that damp kind of heat. And it was kind of a difficult life, really. And mosquitoes and all that lovely stuff. But the people, you know, the women in the military were interesting. They were all very unusual, individual types of women, you know? And
what did you do in the service?
well, I'd worked in an aircraft factory when the war started in Southern California for quite a while, you know, drilling and cutting out metal things for airplane parts for some of the time. But I was trying to get into art because that was the thing I was most interested in. So I kept pushing for that, and finally I got in photography, developing. I'd had a job developing films too, and photography and darkroom work. And so then I wanted to get into something to do with art, so I got a really nice job eventually where I was doing poster work, you know, and display around the base there. I was kind of my own boss. It was kind of an ideal job in the military, you know, and and I stayed in that job for I guess 2.5 or so years until the war was over. But anyway, there were a lot of GIs in the art schools, you know, people had been in the military, and so Victor had been in the army. He'd been in all the terrible things, you know, in Europe. He'd even been in when they invaded Germany and all that horrible stuff, and the camps and stuff. But I didn't even talk to him for a long time. He kind of noticed my work because I had quite an academic background. It sort of impressed him, you know, my painting and stuff. And I didn't pay much attention to him. And then finally, some little girl said, "You gotta go and see his work. He's crazy," telling me. And I didn't pay any attention to her. And so one day I said, maybe I'll go check. And when I saw it, I was standing behind him. I said, "Oh, I like that, you know, that endeared me to him forever." And he really had a lot of ability, so.
So he was a painter?
My husband. Yeah. He had an artist background. He'd worked for Disney. He was a good animator and all that kind of thing. But being around me, you know, I pushed him out of the money-making thing into the fine arts thing. And he was a good painter, though. So that's what happened.
When did you move to the Monterey Peninsula? And I know that you and he both taught art here. And where did you teach art?
We came up here, and you couldn't find, after the war, you couldn't find a cheap place to rent. The rents were just terrible, you know, in town, in Hollywood and Los Angeles. And it was so expensive. And of course, I was always leaving Victor because I couldn't take my mother-in-law. She couldn't take me either, you know. I wasn't the right type for her son. But anyway, I just kept leaving Victor because I couldn't take it. And so I was staying at some place, and I guess I was in the 50s after the war. And so anyway, he came by in a trailer and said, "You want to go with me?" And I wanted to leave if I was going to be with him, you know. So we just took off. Isn't that weird? Ooh. And we didn't even know where we were going. But we'd both been in the war and everything, so, you know, kind of crazy from the whole thing. So we just took off, and we were thinking of going to Berkeley or San Francisco. I like San Francisco. And we just happened to come through here, and Victor was looking at the area in here. It looked kind of interesting to him. And there was an artist that had built his house that was living up on the hill there. And he talked to Victor, and he told my husband that they were selling lots to artists in this area, you know. No, this is Pacific Grove.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, part of Pacific Grove, yeah. The guy told my husband about that, and he was kind of interested. I really wanted to go on to Berkeley, you know. I like living more in the city. I like the city thing better, but oh my God, I wonder if I can take it living out in the woods like this, you know. It was all woods. There were no places here at all. And we had this damn trailer, and so Victor decided to buy the lot, and I went along with him, you know. And so they were selling the lots at $300 a lot to artists and writers because they figured they're kind of broke. They wanted to get kind of an artist community, like, you know, and they knew they'd be on the poor side, so that was really an advantage for artists and writers, you know. And people were interesting too, you know. They weren't conventional. What else should I say? And so anyway, we started living out in the woods, and they had a little gas station up on the hill, and we'd go up and get gas for our car and water. You know, oh God, boring. And then Victor was a good cook, so he had this little thing he'd cook with, you know, in the trailer, lucky for me. And we were just living out in the woods. Oh, we had a dog too, oh my God. A dog that just, we were going along the highway, and this dog just came and got in the car. Isn't that weird? We kept her. So anyway, I was just, what could I do? I couldn't win no matter what. My mother-in-law didn't like me. So anyway, Victor liked it. He liked living out in the woods. And so anyway, I'd stay with him as long as I could, and then I'd go up to San Francisco and visit my nieces and my aunts and things that live in Oakland, so I could get to you know, San Francisco. And I was leaving poor Victor all the time, you know, out in the woods. What happened was there was a fire in the woods, and he was out in the woods alone, and he ran into a twig and nearly lost an eye. Well, that scared the hell out of me, you know, so I came back and stayed with him. And then I came back and I stayed with him then, and then people started coming in because we were living out in the woods, and nobody wanted to start off on their own, see? But we were in a spot where we had to start off on our own. So when we started building, and all these people came in all of a sudden. They'd have these lots, and they didn't have the nerve to go out by themselves, and we had to do it. So that's why, you know, it was the funniest thing how everything kind of came together when we were living out in the woods by ourselves. Really funny. And then we started meeting all these different people, and architects that had studied. Who's that famous architect?
Frank Lloyd Wright.
Huh? Yeah. A lot of them had studied with Frank Lloyd Wright. Oh, I'm glad you remember that name.
My father was an architect.
Huh?
Kind of architecture. My father was an architect. And
Oh,
my
was he?
brother an architect.
Oh, that's right. You knew that name. Like I write it on the wall there. Jesus. Well, so many of those guys had studied with him that were here, and so it was nice for Victor because they gave him a lot of ideas about building, and helped him a lot. And so he wanted to make a studio. He was going to make this just a straight studio with no steps there, and he's like such a slop that I knew that if he didn't divide the studio, I'd never have any place. I'd be in a corner someplace. So I all by my, you know, pushed against the wall. So anyway, I made him do that. But he did an interesting job, I must say. And the architects that were here helped them a lot. Matter of fact, some of the architects, after Victor got the thing built, some of the architects in this area used to come over and look at it, you know, because it was so unusual. You know, they're kind of impressed. Well, people wanted us to try to get in the Carmel Art Association, you know, because we were broke, as always. And Armin Hansen, you know who he is. He was one of the members at that time. And when we submitted our work, he was the one that got my husband and me into the gallery because he liked our work. He was on the board. And it helped us a lot too, really.
Did you know Leslie Emery?
What?
Did you know Leslie Emery?
Yeah. Yeah, I used to know Leslie Emery, yeah. Yeah, I knew a lot of those older painters, you know. Yeah. Is he still alive? Yeah, I'm the only one left, my God. I'm gonna live too long. My grandfather lived to be 103, I said.
So where did you teach?
Oh, so anyway, after we built the place here, well, Victor had started to become kind of an established painter. You know, like they put us in the paper and write things about our work and shows and stuff, and me too. So, so Victor started teaching, and they wanted him to teach and have a class, and he was good. He was really good at that kind of thing. You know, he kind of feel the individual person out and try to help them in the direction that he felt they wanted to go in. He was good at that, and I'd just come in the class and I'd help set it up and get to know all the students and everything, and it was a good class, really. And I'd get the models and we'd set up still lives, you know, and stuff like that. And when Victor died, I took the class over for quite a few years. So.
When did he die?
Hmm?
When did he die? What year?
1988.
Where were the different classes held?
At the Neighborhood Center in Monterey. That was the main place, you know. And then Victor also, I come to think of it, I forgot about that. He had landscape classes too, you know, where people would go out and paint out. Yeah, I had a lot of those too. So it got kind of independent teaching like that. And then we'd get in a lot of shows. Sometimes we'd get an award or something, you know, different shows, a lot of different shows.
Did you travel anywhere? Did you go to Europe or did you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wanted to go to Europe because on the GI Bill, you know, we could do that, and so we had so many years that we could do it, and so I pushed for us doing it, and so we could travel, and so we wound up we went to Paris and lived there quite a while, and then some of the artists would tell me about Spain and Italy and everything and how interesting it was, so I made my husband go to Spain. And he didn't like flamenco at first, you know, but I'd make him go to all these things, and he was a musician, so he wound up understanding the music and everything, and pretty soon, you know, he put these dances together and write them down for me and everything, so it was crazy, you know. And we even taught it. He taught guitar and I taught dancing for quite a long time after he came back from Europe. And we lived in Rome for a while. But of course, when you're a painter, you always like Paris. And of course, the dancing and the music in Spain is just fabulous. My husband learned to play the guitar. And then he taught a lot of people around here, younger people around here.
How did you get into flamenco?
Well, I'm the one that, I was the instigator. I used to go to the theater a lot in Southern California, you know, the auditorium and some of those. And one day I'd seen some show, I don't remember which, but when I came out, I saw this picture of Carmen Amaya. You know, she's the greatest Spanish dancer that ever lived. And I said, my God, who is that? You know, and I wanted to go see it, and I missed it. Something happened, so I missed it. And I always wondered what she was like. And so every time I'd hear anything about her, I would try to make it. I told my husband about her, and so my God, let's see. Gee, when's the first time I think the first time I saw her was in Spain when I made my husband go, and he went nuts over, you know, the music and the dancing. And he could speak Spanish, so he could speak to Carmen Amaya, you know, it was really nice. And so
how long did you live in Europe?
about 4 years, you know, and of course we always want to get back to Paris. But I don't know, the Spain is something too, boy, their music and the dances and the guitarists, you know, are fabulous. Yeah, boy, I was really in a weird place when I was doing those things. I look at them sometimes and I think, what lifetime was that? Well, you know, it was so long ago.
So that was inspired by a movie, you said?
Yeah, the Italian movie. It was kind of interesting. You remember it?
8.5, yeah.
I don't know how I remember it. The characters, the women characters were so unusual.
Mm-hmm.
And
This is one of your paintings.
that's the painting that I got in the Louvre in Paris.
You actually had this painting in the Louvre?
Mm-hmm. They had, you know, they had shows and they'd have shows in the Louvre, you know, for painters. And yeah, I got into one of those shows. Yeah, it was a good show. You know Eldon Didini, don't you?
Oh yes, we just interviewed him.
Huh?
We just interviewed him just last week.
Oh, huh? Mm-hmm. Well, that Virginia did that one of me as a flamenco dancer. That's his wife, Virginia.
Virginia, what's her name?
Virginia Conroy.
Conroy, that's right.
Yeah. Unfinished, but he did a lot of dances and sold some.
And is this your husband's too?
This is mine. I'm doing now. Oh, that boring dealer. I'm telling you, I just couldn't get anything done around here. Oh, it's terrible. Oh. I put yoga, anything that came into my head. Like I like Maria Callas and artist friends of mine and Arletty, the French actress, you know, and painters Clave and Mae West and and no, it was just kind of like fooling around. And then I had this oh my nose. Then I had all these watercolor crayons, and so they, you know, so I grabbed different colors. And the only ones that like the wall like that are my painter friends. Like that stupid dealer, you know, that SB. I hope he sees this. Ugh.
What about this one here, Janet?
That's my husband's.
It's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And what about the one in the back? Is that your husband's also?
Let's see.
David Loza.
Oh, that's a friend of mine. It's a photograph. It's a painting of his girlfriend. They were having kind of a feud about it, so I took it to stop. You know. She's a good friend of mine. She's a painter too. Him to do that of me, and I didn't know that. Afterwards, he gave it to the Pasadena Museum.
What was the name of the painter? Do you know?
Einar Hansen. He's a well-known Danish painter.
And how old were you?
Studied under, right?
Huh?
He
How
was
old
the one
were
you
you?
studied under.
Oh, I must have been in my 20s. Hmm?
He was the one you studied under in Pasadena.
The first one, yeah. Mm-hmm. He was a good painter, and his wife was a writer. They were really fun to be around.
And whose tiger is that?
I went to that zoo out there and did a bunch of sketches of animals.
Some kind of symbolism there.
That's right. Yeah, I identify with the animals, you know. That's something else that my dealer hates about me.
Yeah.
Well, oh, God, this thing. I've got, Jesus.
Are you still dancing?
Yeah, I'm going to keep dancing so I can move. Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, I taught dancing for quite a long time. Which is good, makes you do it.
Where did you teach?
I taught down at the Neighborhood Center for quite a while, and then I taught here, and I studied with different dancers. There was a good Spanish dancer here from Seville. I studied with her and different people.
What about the hats?
Yeah, let's.
You want to try on a couple of those hats?
Huh?
You want to try on a couple of those hats?
Oh.
Janet is well known for her hat collection.
That's so.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yes, I like that too. Yes. Did you make that? That
No.
in the front?
I got someplace in Carmel, I suppose.
Uh-huh.
My camera's not working.
Making dolls too. That's one I never got completely done.
Which one is that?
The one sitting there with the undressed.
Oh, this.
Mermaid.
Yeah.
Is that a mermaid?
Hmm?
Is it like a mermaid?
Well,
And you say this the girl in the bikini is from 8½. the movie?
yeah. Uh-huh. She had a big hat and that kind of a.
What about this one over here, Janet?
Which one?
The one on the end.
Oh,
Christ.
there's a Black Madonna.
Christ and
I did a series of
Black Madonna.
different paintings and things, you know. Yeah.
I read that book. Black Madonna.
here's another hat. I like that one right there.
How about the feather one? You want to hold the feather one up to you?
Oh, that's her
How about
her
this?
mosque.
I forgot about that.
I'll just put that. You can pose it this way.
See, Jim won that for a long time.
Janet DeLaRoche, incognito.
Oh, gee.
That's marvelous.
Weird.
When was this photograph of you taken again?
This,
Yes.
that was just before the war. That would be in the, when did the war start?
41.
41? Well, must have been just the last part of the 30s.
And who took it again?
I was going with a Hollywood photographer, and he wanted me to go in movies and all that stuff, and I hated Hollywood so much, I wouldn't think of it.
It's all right.
Do you remember what date that painting was in the Louvre? Do you want to say the
Oh, let me look at that date I've got written on
It's
there.
55.
55. Yeah. Yeah, that show must have been, yeah, 55. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that show. What?
Well, they have a lot of good shows in Paris, you know, for artists, and we went to some of the French schools, and we get on a lot of the French shows, and I was very lucky to get into that. After I got into that show, I got invited to a lot of different shows all over Paris. You know, that kind of thing helped, but. Yeah, and the students are interesting. You know, like I like the cafes, and you meet a lot of. You find actors, American actors, and French writers, and all artists, and all kinds of people that come in the cafes. Sartre and his girlfriend lived right on the street there by La Dome on Montparnasse. You know where that is? Uh-huh. And,
What other artists do you remember? What other artists do you remember from that time?
well, I saw Picasso in the cafes there. I used to see him. And a lot, I can't think of the names of all of them, but who's that actor? Well, you see it, Clark Gable was all over the place in Paris, always driving around with some blonde or something.